Hi everyone, today I'm going to make a quick card to celebrate the 9th anniversary of our Ways to Use It challenge. Now I have a white card base and I've taped down my trusty laser level so that it stays and I don't bump it. You know how that is. And I'm going to use just a little bit of washi tape to secure my card to my grid paper, because I'll be sponging and moving it around a little bit. I like to tape both sides of it so that when I kind of scrub the ink on there, it doesn't move. Now, so that I can still see the line, I also want to tape down the front of my cardstock so the laser line will show up on top of it. So just a little scrap. Next, I'm going to take a Post-it note and adhere it to a scrap piece of Whisper White cardstock. And I'm going to use my postage stamp punch to punch out a piece of this Post-it note, making sure that I get some of the sticky part so it'll stick down to my card. And then I'll use that as my mask. And what I'm going to do, I'm kind of designing this as I go along. I think I'm going to line up the top little teeth on the punch with the laser line. And just make sure that's straight. Then, since I got it so close to the edge, I'm going to go ahead and put another Post-it note down just to make sure I don't get any stray ink. My first color is Tempting Turquoise ink. And I will cover the entire opening with this ink, just making sure I get it all even. And then I'm going to take Gumball Green ink and a different sponge, of course. And I'm just going to go around the edges of this square just to sort of age it and give it a verdigris look, just a little different look. It would be beautiful just in a single color, but I think it adds a little interest to layer your colors together. And that's it. So I'm going to remove my masks, and this is why it's great to have your card base taped down, because things move quite a bit. But this way my laser level and everything stays in the same place, so that when I go to do my second one, I can just line up the teeth the same way that I did on the first square. Stick that sticky part down. And then add my other little Post-it note. And I think I'll do some warmer colors. So I'm going to start with Daffodil Delight. And just cover that whole opening. I think I want another Post-it note here because I feel like I'm about to get messy when I go around the edge. So get the color nice and saturated. Just takes a second. And then for the edges of this one, I think what I'm going to do is Tangerine Tango, just to warm it up a bit. And again, I like sort of a rough, just a rough appearance, where there's a little variation in the ink on the paper. And I'll take this one off, and just to be asymmetrical, I'm going to do a third one. And I need to move the card so that I can still use my laser level. It's easier to move the card than to untape the level, you know, and get it really lined up on those grid squares. So I just have to figure out what my spacing needs to be and stick the card down that way. Now what I want to be careful to do is mimic that gap between the first two when I figure out what the gap's going to be between the Tempting Turquoise square and the next square. So I think that's about it. So I'll just tape it back down. Just make sure I can see that line again when I press the cardstock down. And then figure out how I can use the level to line up this mask. Again, the most important thing is the space in between the top stamp and the bottom stamp. So I'm going to use Blushing Bride for the center. I'm going to go with kind of primary colors here, I think. I like that balance. But I'm deciding that I don't really like where the image is, so I'm going to try it one more time. I really want it to be perfect. So I'm just going to line it up. Here I'm just sort of eyeballing the gap and then making sure that the top of it is straight still. And then I'm just going to cover up the bottom part so I don't get any extra ink. And then I'll come in with the Blushing Bride. Fill that top square in. And I'm going to go back with Strawberry Slush and add sort of a more vibrant color to the edge. And you can see I knocked my, I didn't tape my lacer down well enough. I knocked it off kind of wonky. But it's good. I'm done. So I don't really need that anymore. I'll save the battery. So I'm going to take my tape off, and now this one's going to be a clean and simple card, and the idea is to celebrate this important 9th birthday. So I'm using one of our rotary This and That stamps to do that with. And I like to kind of try this out on my mat because you're rolling the stamps around on this roller. And sometimes they don't get seated exactly the same way as this little stamp image next to it. So I like to kind of try it out on my mat and see, which one might be a little bit high or a little bit low. And I find that it's helpful to kind of roll through it when you're stamping it. So I roll back and forth a little bit, which is normally a sin when you're stamping. But it looks great on this one. Then I just add a little bit of twine and some gold sequins. And I have a really fun little birthday card for our challenge.